Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today, I'm here to talk to you about how I got my real estate license in less than 1 month and how you can do it too. It may seem like a lot of steps, but it's really just a lot of information. First things first, this is a really fast-tracked timeline. This is a lot of information in a very short amount of time, so it's definitely not for the faint of heart. If you have trouble grasping a lot of information very quickly, this is going to be a little tricky and you might want to extend your timeline to a little over a month. Alright, so let's get started. I took my course through the Chicago Real Estate Institute, drop a link right here. They offer a couple different kinds of classes. You can do strictly online, during the daytime, evening classes, weekend-only classes. They're really flexible with your schedule and super easy to get in there. Now this class will fulfill all of your pre-licensing hours and your interactive hours that you'll need to take the exam. It's a total of 90 hours. Now my class that I took was an in-person class and it was 2 weeks long. I went Monday through Friday. It was pretty much the entire morning. Now, if you're taking this class like I did while working, you'll have a pretty full schedule for 2 weeks. Go to class in the morning, go to work at night, do it again tomorrow. It leaves very little time for studying, but studying is key. You have to study for this class. There's just so much information over such a short period of time that it's information overload. Now, when you register for the class, it's $600. And with that, you get this book right here. This textbook is amazing. I love this textbook. I have read this textbook cover to cover multiple times. It is just full of strictly useful information. They have weeded this information down to only the key points. Now that being said, it's still a pretty thick book. Now in my class, we would cover between 2 and 4 chapters a day. There are 24 chapters total. Everything is broken down into its simplest and most clear form possible. Another reason why this book is such a useful tool, quizzes. Every single chapter has a unit quiz at the end. It's 20 questions of the most important information from that chapter. And even when you get to the end of the book, after you've done all the unit quizzes for all the units from every chapter, they have practice exams. It's literally hundreds of questions to help you prepare for the federal and state exams. And the answer keys are in the back of the book to check your scores. Now, if you take this class at the Chicago Real Estate Institute like I did, they will give you unit quizzes for every unit on top of the ones in the book. So it's double the amount of quizzes that you'll be able to study from. And they give you plenty of practice exams too. They gave me 3 practice exams. The book has 3 practice exams. They gave out retention exercises that were also full of questions. And they will give you a packet of formulas to study for the math portion. A big hang up in this class is terminology. And a lot of those terms sound very similar. The mortgagor versus mortgagee, lessor versus lessee. There's a lot of those, and if you don't understand them very intimately, your questions will be very confusing. There are a lot of not questions. All of these are true except which one of these is not legal. Now as for math, there is a good portion of this book that is filled with math. But don't freak out if you're not a math person. It's all basic algebra. We're not doing a bunch of calculus or geometry. Like, it's pretty straightforward math problems. And you get a calculator. You have a calculator the whole time. In the exam, you get a calculator. So as long as you can read and understand the questions, you have a calculator. Now on top of the practice quizzes and the practice exams, flashcards are also a really useful tool. They'll help you retain some of that tougher terminology you'll come across in the book. Now another one of the biggest hang-ups in this book is state versus federal. There are a lot of state-specific laws. Now this can be one of the biggest mistakes people will make when they take these exams, is a lot of the questions will be phrased in Illinois. If you just gloss over that word in Illinois, you're gonna jump straight to the federal ruling, you're gonna answer wrong and you won't even realize it. So to help out, anytime you see in the book in Illinois, highlight it, underline it, put a star next to it. Something to let your brain know that this is important information when you read back through. Now, to pass this class, you have to attend all 90 hours. You'll receive a certificate saying that you can now take the licensing exam. Now, as for the exam, it costs $55 to take the exam, and you have to sign up 3 days in advance. When you show up to take the exam, you'll need to bring your certificate from class, 2 forms of ID, and a calculator. If you don't have a calculator, they'll provide one for you. You have to put all your belongings in a locker. They will also give you a pencil and a piece of paper. Quick tip, if you're having trouble remembering some of your math formulas, read them right before you go into your exam. They give you a pencil and a piece of paper, you go in, write down your formulas right away so you have them on hand. Now when you show up to take your exam, when they check you in, you're checked in. You can't do any last minute cramming, nothing. If they sign you in, you have to go take the test immediately. I showed up an hour early to try and study before my exam, and they would not let me. You get 3 hours to take the test. There's 150 questions, 100 federal questions, 45 state questions, and 5 questions for future exams. Those aren't graded. All right, now one of the most important pieces of information yet. Read the question carefully. Then read it again. Then read your answer choices. Then read the question again. You've got to understand what the question is asking you. A lot of the answer choices are going to be very similar. There are multiple questions, and the answer choices are these 4 exact answer choices. A buyer gives a credit to the seller. A buyer gives a debit to the seller. A seller gives a credit to the buyer. A seller gives a debit to the buyer. Those answer choices are almost identical. The wording of them is incredibly important. Now, a big test-taking tip here, most of these questions you can narrow down to 2 options. Now, there's also a feature on this exam to save for later. You can just click the button at the bottom that says mark for later. You can go through the exam and you can circle back. So don't waste too much time on a question being frustrated that you don't know the answer right away. Now after you're done with the exam, go back out to the lobby and she tells you if you passed right away. I passed on my first try. Now if you don't pass on your first try, they'll print you out a paper that shows you how you scored in each section so you can know what to study for the next time. All right, so that's 2 weeks for the class, 1 week for studying, 3 days in advance to sign up for your exam. And then once you pass the exam, you have your real estate broker's license in less than a month. Now, time to start working. All right, guys, that's all for today. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. If there's any information that I didn't cover that you'd like the answer to, leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to write back. Otherwise, thanks for watching and see you next time.